viewable texture mode, you can see that I'm just basically selecting just the very top of the skull right here. If I had a little bit more geometry, I might actually bring it a little farther down the sides. But given the limited amount of geometry, we'll just kind of work with what we have. You can also see that part of what I've selected, is one of these faces that was actually just kind of really stretched over here, and that'll really help us out when it comes to mapping the top of the head. So with that being selected, something else I want to point out is as you're making this selection, be kind of choosy. You don't necessarily want to make this selection so low on the forehead that it's not necessarily going to be covered up by the hairline. And the same thing with how far down the back of the head that you bring it, etc. That way, as you're actually painting your texture map, if the seams don't line up perfectly, nobody's really going to notice because it's going to be covered in hair. So whereas we did a cylindrical map for the entire head, we're going to do a planar map for the top of it. So I'll go ahead and come to create UVs, and I'll actually go to the option box on planar mapping. And this time, instead of having it favor the x-axis, what we're going to do is we're going to have it favor the y-axis. Go ahead and hit project. All right, and you can see that it's actually projecting downwards on top of those four faces that we've selected. So in the UV texture editor, I will go ahead and once again convert that selection to UVs so that I can just go ahead and scale it down a little bit. Actually, in my viewport in Maya, I'll press 6 so I can see exactly what it is that I'm doing. Now you can see that the alignment of these numbers isn't necessarily consistent with the alignment of this pattern or texture on the rest of the head, which tells me that I actually need to bring it up here and rotate it so that we have some good directional continuity there. So I'll just go ahead and relatively place it in an approximate relation with the rest of the geometry right here from which we extracted this. And I'll just leave it there for the time being. Now, a few other areas of concern on this particular model is we have the ear, we have the eye socket, we have the mouth, we have the chin, and we have the nose. Now, the reason why these areas are all presenting problems is because they all represent overlapping in the geometry in the UV layout, and this is something that we